Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Inside the Pictures. My name is Scott Morgan, off the Motor City Mad Mouth. Please be joined by my Motor City Mad Mouth co-host, Steve Ballester. You get ready for tomorrow? But you're on mute, so I guess I'll never know unless I learn how to talk, read sign language.
Yeah, I'm ready for tomorrow. Yes, I am.
Yeah, and he's ready for that. Great stuff, Mr. SB, my brother from another mother. Love you, SB. We're going to light it up the next 2 days. If you ask me how much caffeine I've had, don't ask. Because I'm loaded, baby. All right, but after that first topic, you'll think I was nothing compared to what happened with Tyrann Mathieu. And we have Candy in. Right, Candy?
It's great to be here.
And we got Melfar Jr., who we're handing the rock today.
Hey, good to be here, guys.
And we'll have Marvin Powell III, who's going to be the recipient of some of my passes if you can run that far and fast, Powell. I'm telling you, I know how to throw. I had to get my echoes. Okay.
All right, happy to be here.
Yeah, glad to have him, Marvin. He's a big part of this show here for sure. And, of course, he definitely did a good job on the sports exchange until we had to bring him back to earth and get him to deal with pro football. But college football, what better opportunity to start off this show than with this one? And so get this, Tyrann Mathieu almost died trying to pass a drug test at LSU. He says they used a mixed bleach and Coca-Cola to try to pass a drug test, people. Bleach and Coca-Cola, my goodness. Need I say more? I can only imagine his whole insides were definitely eruptions. Not like the chili, though, that I had over at But all right, Steve, give me your best shot. You were blown away when I brought this up to you earlier today.
Yeah, I mean, that's when you told me that, I thought it was one of those Babylon Bee stories. Right? I didn't think it was for real, but apparently it is. And hey, look, I guess guys will do anything to pass that drug test.
And that's all true. Hello, Brett. How are you? Glad to have you in the big show. So anything you want to add to that, Steve? Obviously, if you're looking to get by that's not quite the way to do it.
No, look, he should, that's just so dumb. Okay. I mean, to do that is not too bright. And I would have thought he was smarter than that.
Hey, Marvin, did you go to LSU?
I did not go to LSU.
Good. Say no more.
Yeah.
Say no more. You didn't go to LSU, right? Yes or no?
No.
Good. I'm proud of you because they don't teach you that over there. Okay.
How about this? Steve is saying how dumb that is. I swore President Donald Trump told people to put disinfectant or bleach in them to kill COVID. I'm certain he said that. He absolutely said that. So
we're talking about Donald Trump. My goodness, I'm putting you back on the sports exchange because of this.
If the president can suggest it, then Tyrann, Mathieu. I mean, he ain't too far off, man. I think that's one of those Louisiana country tales. Somebody in the backwoods told him something, and he did it. And listen, that kid was paranoid. He was scared. Back then, if he got caught smoking weed, they treated that like it was a pistol. They treated that like it was that was a big deal. So weed, it was crack cocaine. So nah, man. I've heard of crazy stuff, not that crazy, but that's just a kid committed to passing that test because he loves the Tigers. That's all.
Well, Marvin, congratulations, because now I'm putting you on the sports exchange tomorrow night for that comment. Well, maybe not. We don't want to go on. I couldn't help telling it to you anyway.
I remember that disinfectant comment.
Yeah, he said that. That's what I thought of when you said it right there. I said, Trump did that. He went to Ivy League school, right? He's Ivy League making these recommendations. I'm just saying.
Hello, Marvin.
I Charlie Kirk you right there.
Yeah, you did. So let me ask you a question, Marvin.
Yeah.
I got an opening tomorrow night. You want to come on to Sports Exchange?
I appreciate Tuesday night, Scott.
I figured you would, Marvin. Great comment on this one. No, probably Marvin Powell third. It's okay. Daddy couldn't top that one. That was good. You Charlie Kirk me. All right. With that said, Candy, what are your thoughts about this unbelievable situation? Charlie
So
Kirk.
he also stated that it felt like his insides were just like erupting after he tried that.
Duh.
Thanks.
Right?
He
I
did.
can't imagine why.
Yeah, right.
He was actually dismissed from LSU in August of 2012 following multiple failed drug tests. He later admitted to losing count of how many tests he failed, estimating it was more than 10. He said he attempted to pass the test using fake substances, other people's urine, all kinds of things. He goes, before the 2013 NFL draft, he did pass his drug test at the NFL scouting combine. And despite his college troubles, he went on to have a successful 12-year NFL career.
Scott.
But yet they're calling this guy a honey badger? If honey's close to bleach and Santa Claus is Jewish. No, I'm bringing Santa Claus into this.
Scott.
Honey badger. Really? Seriously, really? Really? I'm going crazy. I love it. Good stuff. Anything you want to add, Candy? This guy's a honey badger.
It's because he liked marijuana. What can I say?
Well, no, that's not so bad. Yeah, I'll admit there were some times that I had marijuana back in the day because of circumstances, but that's no big deal. Marijuana is okay, but honey badger, bleach. Oh God! Oh, what a great way to start the show off! Oh my goodness. Okay, Mel, see if you can top all of our insanity.
I don't know if I can top any of it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it sounds like obviously he was desperate to pass the test. I don't think a little bit of bleach is key. I think I've heard of people ingesting a small amount of bleach for whatever reasons. I think I've heard of that. I think even like to purify water or something like that, you put a little bit of bleach in there or something like that. That's not going to kill you. I don't know how much. I don't know how much bleach he put in the mixture with his Coca-Cola. Yeah, but that's probably not going to get it done. You know, it's not going to get into the bloodstream fast enough to get that done. But that's I had never heard that before. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm going to tell you. Earl Kinsey said so did Ricky Williams. The only thing about Ricky Williams is all he did was play for the Miami Dolphins. You get a pass. Don't worry about that. Okay, marijuana. All right, with that said, our biggest topic of the night, it's going to be a two-part story, so I'll break it down little by little, and then we can go from there. North Dakota State wants to be in the Mountain West Conference is what they want to do. And should they license hit? So let me go over this again. This is really located. There's a lot to take in here. North Dakota State wants to be in the Mountain West Conference. Should they be in the Mountain West? Well, that's one story to ask. So what do you think, Steve? Should they be in the Mountain West?
Absolutely. I mean, look, they've dominated the FCS for so long. I mean, 10 championships in 15 years. They should have actually gone a couple of years ago, but
right.
Look, I'm fully on board with them going to the FBS. And look, they go to the Mountain West. They're probably the best team in the Mountain West right now.
Right.
You know, I think it's a smart move for them. You know, they'll be they'll be getting more money, obviously, a little bit more national prestige for the program because now they're in an FBS school. And look, I think it's going to help their recruiting. Well, I already read this afternoon that it's already helping their 2027 recruiting class. So I'm fully on board with this. I mean, I think, they've done really well when they've played FBS schools. I think they're 9-5.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll get to that shortly. So, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and I think they beat several Power 4 schools too.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, so let me continue the narrative on this here. The NDSU, obviously, they were in talks to move to the FBS. The Bison have won 10 of the last 15 national titles at the FCS. They joined the Mountain West Conference as football-only members. Okay, this would actually be for the 2026 season, and they've recorded a 239 and 248 records since joining Division I in 2004. And as Steve alluded to, they're 9-5 all-time versus FBS teams. They're also 198 and 22 since 2011. They have 18 national championships. They're 10-1 in the FCS national championship game. And let me continue the stat because there's a lot. They have 51 playoff wins, an 895 playoff percentage. And obviously, since they did join the Mountain West team, they're actually going to, it's hard to believe that they're going to be in a conference. Get this, okay? With Northern Illinois, Hawaii, and UTEP in the same conference. And I'll tell you one thing, since the Fargo Dome opened, NDSU has a home record of 114-24 and the 38-2 in the FCS playoffs. So, and also, so keep in mind, and I'll move around the horn with this, okay? USC still looking for a 12th opponent, Marvin. Oh my God, we'll get to that in a little bit, okay? So make sure you know, because Notre Dame ain't there, okay? And but the biggest problem that they're having is in the CFP will not be allowed based on the 2-year rule for playoff, bowl games, conference championships. Now, if NDSU, North Dakota State University, went 12-0, they wouldn't go to a conference championship game. And in 2016, keep in mind, as Steve mentioned, at Iowa, they defeated the Hawkeyes 23-21. Iowa was actually ranked number 13 at that particular time, and it was their 6th consecutive win over an FBS opponent. The Bison will be obviously paying an 8-figure fee as a football member only. Nothing, but there's really nothing left to prove at the FCS level. With all that said, Steve, is there anything else you want to add to that?
Well, look, people said the money would kind of set them back. They just built a brand new $54 million indoor stadium. So I don't think money's an issue for North Dakota State. They have a lot of rich donors, and I think that, look, they need to go to the FBS level, and I think the NCAA needs to waive that mandatory 2-year probationary period. Let them play for a conference championship right off the bat.
All right, so you know what? Let's go to the comments. Andy, I want you to read some of the big ones. Obviously, we talked about Ricky Williams. Trump attended Ivory School but didn't learn a thing. Well, all right. Go ahead, Ken. Just read them all because I think some of the comments are interesting as well. And
there isn't many other ones. Good evening, everybody. Hi. You already read that one, and so did Ricky Williams.
Okay. All right. So, Candy, what are your thoughts about North Dakota State and where they're at the moment?
So, North Dakota State was actually founded in 1890. Last year's enrollment was 11,952. I do agree with them going into that conference. What I feel is weird is that football is in the Mountain West Conference and wrestling is in the Big 12 Conference. So I think it just gets kind of confusing to be in different conferences for different sports. But kudos for them to getting to that level and joining them. They've been a member of the NC2A Division I since 2004. They used to play in the Missouri Valley Football Conference and the Summit League back in the day. They established themselves winning 10 FCS national championships since 2011. Like, that's not that long. I mean, that's pretty powerful. So kudos to them. And I don't know why we'd have to ban that moratorium that they can't win for how many. If they go into a new conference and they beat everybody and they win the championship, let them win the championship.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you there, Steve.
Okay. Now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a different ball game now. I mean, the money is different. They have a $500 million endowment compared to these other universities that have $1 billion endowments. They don't have the money to compete at the top level in the big boy division. They don't have the money like Ohio State and Michigan and Oregon and USC.
There you go.
Texas. They don't have the type of money to compete at the big boy level. They'll be successful. They've had a successful program. They've had good coaches there. They've had some good kids come out of there, but they're not gonna do in Indiana. That's not gonna happen. They don't even have the type of money that Indiana has. I mean, Mark Cuban, is supporting Indiana, so it'll be fun for them. But it's going to be a rude awakening when they play some big boy, play some big boys on a regular basis. It's a lot different playing big boy football than it was down there playing Pop Warner football.
Okay, Marvin, and I prefaced with Notre Dame, so now you have a chance to see if the Irish will even face North Dakota State. You can add that to what you're about to contribute. Okay, Marvin.
Yeah. Well, I would say, Mel, North Dakota State and James Madison, I think, play at the same level. And those kids from James Madison are what made up Indiana in that first year. So listen, you never know, man. You absolutely don't know. I think they have real football culture in North Dakota. I think they have. I mean, whether as if it was USC or Alabama or Notre Dame, I think they have real culture, real pride. I think they take their history very serious. And when you look at their record versus FBS schools, they have a right to feel, confident about this. I think it's going to be a great move for them, and it wouldn't surprise me if they, now granted coaching matters, and I don't know who their current head coach is. I don't know if they have a Kurt Segnetti, but, football is played on the field, not on paper. And on the field, those guys do pretty good against the big boys, all right? And after James Madison pulled off, or what Indiana pulled off with a majority James Madison roster, hey, man, I have nothing but respect for North Dakota State. I'm someone who doesn't spend a lot of time watching anything but FBS for the most part, but they've had so much success that, they're iconic. They are within that level of football, that division, and you have to take your hats off to them. So, yeah, I'm excited about this for them as a football fan, and it wouldn't shock me that if they were successful. I do think it's horrible that they can't compete for the playoffs or in a bowl game, right? Because, again, if you're that good, if you're good enough, why not? I mean, sports is like one of the last real meritocracies. So, congrats to them, and kudos for having the cojones to move up.
Andy, is there anything you want to add to this?
I do. I want to say since 2011, North Dakota State Bison have a record of 186-21, which include a record 22-game playoff win streak, making them the most successful college football program in Division I FCS in the last 2 decades. And one more thing. Among FCS programs, North Dakota State has more all-time program wins than any non-Ivy League program, over 750. Of all the teams established after 1894, only Oklahoma has won a higher percentage of its games than North Dakota State University.
Great stuff, Candy. And I'm going to give everybody a little development of what's taking place in college football. Let's go to this, okay, before we continue on. Former Auburn head coach Gus Malzahn and former Cal head coach Jeff Tedford are among those named to the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. The new members of the committee will start at 3-year terms this spring. So what are your thoughts, Steve, about those Tedford and Malzahn joining?
Yeah, I think, I didn't hear about that, but I think that's a good idea, right? I think that I always liked Tedford. Malzahn, I was kind of on the fence about as a head coach, but look, I didn't even know about this until you just said it. So I was kind of in the dark about that one, Scott.
Yeah, but Steve, it just came across the wire service, so it's not a big deal. I
Yep.
just found out about it recently, so that's why I figured I'd bring it up on the show. You follow me? Because I'll tell you one thing: the college football playoff needs some good minds, and Gus
Yep.
Malzahn and Jeff Tedford of Cal and Auburn definitely are two of the, as good as they get. All right, Candy.
Yeah, I think it's a good. I think that's a good addition. And look, the college football playoff needs to be. I don't know. It needs to be revamped because teams that should be in there sometimes aren't, and teams that shouldn't be in there a lot of times are. Right? We've seen that time and again, and they need to come up with a better system.
Well, precisely my point. So what they were able to do today, SB, is the fact they added two quality football people that are excellent coaches that should be able to
Yep.
get behind some of these decisions. And that's why I thought it was pertinent information to add to tonight's show.
Yep.
I know nobody expected it, but when it comes across my wire service at the last minute, I feel it's important to interject it. And that's why I wanted to incorporate that into this conversation, especially since North Dakota State University is obviously moving. I had another friend of mine ask me, why wait a little bit longer here? And part of the reason that I end up doing it a little bit longer in some cases is like I need to have the right crew to talk about some of these topics. And when I find the right group to be able to do it, it just makes a lot of things that we do more credible. So, I enjoy the feedback I get all over the place. But between NS and DSU and now Gus Malzahn, Jeff Tedford, we'll turn it over to Candy.
I like the fact that they rotate and they have 3-year commitments because 3 years isn't too long, but yet it's good to get new, fresh blood in there also. New eyes, different eyes, and these guys have obviously had pretty good football pedigree that, and college coaches for how long. So I like the move, and I like the fact that they rotate it, and it's not always the same. Like, people can't always blame it's the same old every year.
Now,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good that they get more football people involved in the process. I mean, if this is a process you're going to have, I think it's good that you have more football minds in there as opposed to administrators. I think that's always good.
Marvin.
Yeah, I agree with Mel and Candy. I think it's important to get a real football mind in there, someone who has a different perspective, a different appreciation, and can evaluate differently, and be objective as well. So that's a good thing. And listen, there's so much backdoor business and politics going on. You got to get some of these guys out of there. You know what I mean? Because even if most of these guys are doing right, man, there's always that one fella, right? And it's messing it up for everybody. So. Yeah, I like this idea, man. I do. I think it keeps, I think in many ways it keeps the standard high, and I think this just allows us to make sure that we're not dealing with favoritism or any kind of bull crap for too long.
Yeah, and Marvin, I like the word mind. Put an S to it because you have Malzahn and Tedford, but I know where you're going, and you're certainly on the right track. You're talking about two guys that coach the game of football. If those aren't two good football minds, please let me know what they are, and I must be taking a stupid pill today. And I don't know if I am or not, but it is what it is. But no, everybody's right on target. You need football minds, and that was why I brought this up tonight. Well, I'll tell you what, the Raiders got a good one because Clint Kubiak is the third Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator in the last 5 years to land a head coaching gig. The list does include Kellen Moore, Kevin O'Connell, and of course, Kubiak does get a 5-year deal out of it. Steve, what are your thoughts about Clint Kubiak landing with the Raiders and being the third guy to make that plunge?
Yeah, well, the NFL is always looking for that next young, hot coordinator, right? And to give a head coaching job to. And look, he's done a great job. I thought he did a great job with Seattle. And I think he's probably what the Raiders need. They're starting from scratch all over again, right? I mean, there's so much going on with the Raiders. I think Kubiak was a great hire. And you look at the other guys that have been hired, they're really good offensive minds. And I think he's going to do well there. It's going to take a while. It's not going to happen overnight, obviously. But I think it was a good hire by the Raiders.
What do you think, Marvin?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's the last place you want to be drafted to is Cleveland, the Raiders, or the Jets. If you're a quarterback, right? But Kubiak's in there. You got Tom Brady over there, so you start to feel better about that situation. This guy had this, like Steve said, man. Everybody's looking for the next Sean McVay. Period. That's what everybody wants. The new hot guru. The guy who knows how to do it differently than Three Closet Dust and they want that guy. You got him kind of. He's going to have a quarterback who's pretty talented. Going to have a talented tight end. You got a running back. I think you're talking about bringing in some more linemen if you haven't already. It's going to be tough for Clint, but yeah, he has the background, and it looks like they're trying to get him set up for success.
Mel?
I mean, it's a crapshoot with all these guys. I mean, last year we had almost a third of the league turned over as far as head coaching. It's like 10, 11 head coaching jobs last year. It's a crapshoot, and that's one side of the football. That's only the offensive side of the football. You got to get the defensive side shored up as well. They got to get somebody over there that can coach defense too. What you have to have is a leader of men. Can he lead men? I don't know. He's a great X's and O guy. He might be a great guy on the chalkboard and all that, but can he lead men? We'll have to see. Like Marvin said, everybody's looking for the next Sean McVay, but Sean McVay, not only is he a brilliant offensive mind, he's also a great leader of men. So is Clint a great leader of men? His dad was pretty good at it. His dad had a pretty good coaching career down with Houston and with Denver. His dad was pretty good at it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's good at it. I think that's one of the things that that Shanahan kind of lacks, is that he's a great offensive mind, but it doesn't really relate well with the players. And that's might be the reason why they haven't gotten over the hump. And I'm not saying that his dad related to the players great, but his dad did win 2 Super Bowls. So, I mean, he does have that. But is he a great leader of men? We'll have to see. We'll just have to wait and see.
Okay. Candy.
One of the things when I was researching him is I was surprised as to how many places he's been in his short career. So he started as an offensive quality controls coach at Texas A&M back in 2010. Then he went to the Vikings in 2013, Kansas 2015, the Broncos 2016, Minnesota again in 2019, back to the Broncos in 2022, the 49ers in 23, the Saints in 24, Seattle in 26, and now he's going to get his first time really being a head coach for the Raiders in 2026. The one thing I will say is obviously time's going to be the best tell whether this was a good hire or not. Some coordinators do not transition to being good head coaches. In fact, we've seen a lot of them, but there once in a while you hit the needle in a haystack and you hit on it. He's got a lot of battles. He's not in an easy division. He's yes, he's going to have, a young quarterback and all that. It'll be interesting to see how he does. But he's got a lot to battle.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. His dad, Gary Kubiak, did a heck of a job, didn't he? This guy, all he did, great offensive mind. And I think he won a Super Bowl in Denver, didn't he? If my memory serves me correctly. So Gary Kubiak did pretty well. He's been a lifer in the business. So great point, Steve and Candy. Mel, go ahead.
No,
I talked about it.
They already did, Scott. I was the last one.
Okay. I'm bad. Okay. Well, blame it on Alzheimer's. I'll do that. All right. But anyways, since Marvin did a really good job segueing about Sean McVay, he's going to lead off with this one because when you talk about extended and continuity of the LA Rams, obviously did when they extended head coach Sean McVay and GM Les Snead. They both get contract extensions. Marvin, go ahead. Start. What are your thoughts about the continuity that's taking place out with the Rams with Sean McVay and Les Snead?
Yeah, this is how you win championships. You said it, continuity. Everybody's aligned. Having an owner with no ego, an owner who's smart enough to let the smart people take control. You know what I mean? And that's key. So you have the owner in line, the GM and the head coach are obviously together. They have a great relationship. Mutual respect. And then probably the most important component, you got a quarterback. You got a competent quarterback, veteran guy who's an executive in itself. It was genius of the owner to bring back the coach and obviously the GM to extend them, keep them there. They are part of the major brain of what's going on there. And, it just makes sense. This is why the rich keep getting richer. A lot of talent, no ego, clear vision. Everybody knows their role. And, you develop talent, you keep talent. I mean, this is what the good people do. So, yeah, it makes sense to me.
Now,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
that's no problem. If we're talking about continuity in LA with the Rams, as head coach is Sean McVay and GM Les Need get extensions. Continuity, my friend. Both of them are going to stick around a little while to coach Matt Stafford.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the people with the Rams are happy about that as well. I mean, there's a few years ago where Sean McVay was teetering on whether or not he was burnt out and whether or not he was going to walk away from the game and go into the booth and start broadcasting games. So, yeah, when they've been as successful as they have been, the game has been a lot of fun for him as of late with the Matthew Stafford there versus when Jared Goff was there. I think he got a little frustrated with Matthew. He seems to be have a renewed spirit for coaching. Obviously, they do a very good job of drafting and developing their players. And when you do that, when you do a good job of drafting, then you have to, in developing, then you have to pay those guys as well. Otherwise, they'll go somewhere else and you end up having to start all over again. And, that's okay. I mean, they've done that as well, too. But you want to try to draft and develop your own players. I think that's great, that continuity. It's been successful. They've been very successful since they've been together. So why not continue that as long as you possibly can?
There you go. We'll turn over to Steve. Obviously, you got the head rolling up. What do you think?
Yeah, and I agree with everything Marvin and Mel just said. I mean, look, continuity is the way. When you have a head coach and a GM that are very successful, that means that they're working in perfect sync with each other. And why would you not want to continue that? And that's where, you check the egos at the door and everyone has to have a say. And, the results speak for themselves. The Rams have been very successful, and they came really close to going to the Super Bowl themselves last year. So why would you not want to continue that? I think it's a very smart move.
Sorry, Steve.
No.
This move ensures stability for the franchise as they enter their 10th season with the duo in 2026. Under McVay, the Rams have achieved 8 winning seasons in their 9 years that these two have been together. That speaks volumes because, as we've talked before, it's hard to have sustained, continued success in the NFL. But they've managed to do it, to have 8 winning seasons. There are some teams out there that would salivate at having 8 winning seasons of the last 9. So
some would salivate over 1.
That's true. But so kudos for them. Good job.
All right, let's keep it rolling. Tell you one thing. I didn't know who had home field advantage during the College Football Playoff National Championship. But I'll tell you, if you look at the numbers, there are more Indiana fans than Miami. So some saying they're 70% over at Hard Rock Stadium. Marv, what are your thoughts? It looked like, to me, Indiana was making themselves feel pretty good, weren't they?
It makes sense. First of all, I think it's the most losingest program of all time. They have the most living alumni. They have an outstanding business school. They got alums making money. The tickets for the national championship were outrageous, and Indiana filled the stadium up with all their successful living alumni who were celebrating the fact that their team has been, again, the worst team in the last 100 years, literally. So it doesn't shock me at all, So, yeah, it's for Miami fans. I mean, they've seen success, before. There are people who are alive who remember when the Canes were good. And this is, back in 2001, 2002 I'm talking about. But for Indiana, no, man, you got to go back before Jim Crow. I mean, you're talking about a long, long time ago. So, yeah, this was a big deal for Indiana.
No?
Yeah, I mean, at the Georgia Dome, I mean, they they showed up in numbers, and I think they just probably just left from Georgia and went down to Miami. Just filled up the Winnebago with some gas and just headed on down there. Took some time off, like Marvin said. I mean, a lot of them probably live down in Florida anyway. Probably retired down there, so it's probably a lot of undercover Indiana folks there that nobody knew about. They're just real quiet because they really had nothing to be excited about, and they just came out the woodworks, turned the lights off, and it just kind of appeared. But I think it's great. I think it's great for college football with what they were able to do last year. Gives a little guy some hope. Like us, our gutty little Bruins, gives us some hope that of what is possible. Even though you don't have all the money in the world. You're not paying the coach all the money in the world. You don't have the number one recruiting class that you can still go out there and get it done.
Yeah, Earl, the Steelers have had 19 winning seasons for sure. Yeah, and also some of the other comments. Raiders, no defense of line QB spells disaster. No question about that for sure. Candy going through comments. Denver, KC, the Chargers, the Raiders will have the first overall pick again. No doubt about it. And obviously, Carlos Mendoza is already studying his playbook for what I'm hearing. So they're trying to get that transition going. Candy, some thoughts about the Hoosiers making Miami look like Indiana?
Well, one thing I will say about Miami fans is that they don't support their team as much as like a Midwest team does. And I don't know exactly why. I don't know if because there's so many different transplants down here. I don't think a lot of people that are Miami fans would travel a long ways for them unless they're really diehard. Whereas Indiana fans, let's face it, they were excited. They were undefeated. They were playing. They could get away from the winter blues in Indiana and come to South Florida where it was a lot warmer. They travel better. They were the number one seed. I think a lot of their fans could, let's face it, save up because as the season was going on and they were winning and I just think for a basketball school, for all of a sudden to have such success on the football field, fans were excited and fans wanted to be part of that. They wanted to be part of an undefeated season, a historic season in Indiana football, and to have a ticket and to say that you were there at that game if you are from Indiana or from the school says a lot, and it would give you a lot of pride. And I think that's why a lot more Indiana fans were there.
Steve?
Yeah, I agree with what everyone's been saying. Marvin mentioned it best. This is not a winning football program, right? I mean,
right.
They don't have a stellar football history. And look, the fans there, they thought maybe they caught lightning in a bottle that one time, right? All of a sudden, out of nowhere, your team is undefeated. They're the number one seed. They're winning all through the college playoffs, and now they're in the national championship game. And good for them that they filled that stadium up. I mean, look, the chances of them going back anytime soon are probably slim, right? And they don't have that, recruiting class. They don't have that, that reputation as a football factory like some of the big time programs do. But kudos to them. What a great year. And I think it was awesome that they filled that place up because even though I'm not an Indiana fan by any stretch, I was rooting for them. I wanted to see them get that one big win. I think a lot of people in the country were.
Well, if you're an underdog, then Indiana was your choice. Miami's won 5 national championships, but Indiana hadn't seen any kind of success until Kurt Cignetti arrived there for sure. Speaking of the Miami Hurricanes, though, they're going to have their first ever meeting. Miami and Utah will be moving forward with the 2027 Vegas kickoff. So athletic director Dan Radakovich confirmed to Barry Jackson, a good friend of mine, by the way, writes for the Miami Herald. ACC schools are required to play 10 power conference games starting this season, while also moving to a 9-game schedule. Obviously, with the majority of the league will. I think some of them have 8 games, some of them have 9. So the Canes will be playing Utah and Vegas. Marvin, your thoughts about Miami taking their act to Sin City?
You're muted, Marvin.
You're muted,
Sorry about
Marvin.
that.
That's
Sorry
okay.
about that. Yeah, Miami
Okay.
is an elite program, and I heard what Candy said about their people not coming to games, but I think they're the kind of programs that locals go to. And a place like Vegas, man, you got people on vacation. You got Canes fans and people who would love to come out there and see a brand like the Canes coming off of a national championship run. So yeah, and then Utah obviously is an outstanding program, no doubt about it. Their outstanding program. It's going to be a good game. It's something that I'm going to watch. And I wouldn't be shocked to see a bunch of Canes fans in the game. In the stadium. I mean,
Mel?
Well, we have to realize Utah is in a transition period right now. Their coach Willingham is not there. He's taking the job over in Michigan, so Utah is not going to be the same program that we've been accustomed to watching. I mean, they may. We'll have to see. We're going to have to see what Utah looks like, if they're going to be that tough, hard-nosed team that we've come accustomed to, that was dominating the Pac-12 for when they joined the Pac-12 a few years ago. But Miami, I'm sure the Miami folks, they like to gamble. They're going to head out to Vegas and want to have a good time. They're used to that heat. That's not going to be a big deal. A little different type of heat though, but it's not going. I'm sure they'll enjoy going out there. Las Vegas is a great city. I love going to Las Vegas, especially when there's a big time activity going on, like a fight or a football game. I think the energy is crazy. You never know when it's dark outside. You're inside. You don't know what time it is. You kind of get lost. Hopefully the players, they have a curfew for them. They're not down there in the casino getting wild with that NIL money. But it should be a great game. I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait till college football season gets here.
Candy?
Yeah, represents the first ever meeting between the two schools. Obviously, Allegiant Stadium. It's going to be Labor Day weekend. It's the exact date and time to be announced, but they're saying it's going to be sometime on Labor Day weekend in 2027. It's also going to be the Battle of the U, matching the Hurricanes and the Utes for the first time. Organizers, the game is operated by ESPN Events, so it'll be interesting. Miami affirmed that they were going to stick with this schedule despite potential future conference schedule shifting. It'll be interesting to see, since they've never ever played each other. I think that's kind of cool, because two fan bases that have never seen each other can yes. And will they travel? When I said the Hurricanes don't travel, I think they're fans down here. I mean, we don't fill a Hard Rock Stadium for most games down here, but will they travel to see other teams, especially if you're going to a different venue like that? I can see them traveling for that.
Great points, Candy. Really. I mean, God willing, if my Alzheimer's doesn't beat me by then, that is another bucket list item if I can get you in Allegiant Stadium, Candy. Great points all the way around. Again, there's some stadiums I want to get to, and if I know Cameron Gorby, his speed dial, and he knows after what I told him the other day, check your text messages and emails more. And he said, okay, I get it. And I was very polite that day. He hasn't gotten a real rack for the Motor City Madmouth if he doesn't check him anymore. Of course, he doesn't know what he's in for in July, but that'll be another story. But everybody else does. So I'll ask a good question. What team do you think is going to surprise everyone this year? I don't know yet until I get a handle of things after spring practice. But I'll tell you one team that will intrigue me will be the Michigan Wolverines under Kyle Whittingham. Having obviously Candy talked about the Utah Utes, now he's going to U of M. So that one intrigues me. He's going to have a chance to go out there and have Bryce Underwood in his pocket, and Bryce will get some good coaching. That's just me. But, Steve, why don't you finish the thing about the Utah Utes, and then we'll pick up Earl's question.
Yeah, look, I think there'll be a ton of Miami fans there. And, I think Mel hit the nail on the head. Vegas is just it's a dedicated fun zone, right? I mean, when there's an event going on there, that place is hopping. I've been there when there was fight in town. But Vegas on a normal day is crazy. Yeah, you get a big event in there, especially, two really good college football programs that have never played each other. So I think that just sets everything up. I think there'll be a ton of Miami fans there. I see no reason why not.
Well, and that's the thing. Yeah, Bryce under. So, but okay. Now, do you want to go ahead and take a guess as to who was surprised anybody, or you want to wait till a little bit while until we get more information?
Yeah, I don't really know yet. I mean, I haven't, been keeping up with how teams are going to go this spring. We'll know more after spring practices, but I don't have a clue right now.
Hey, Earl, I'll tell you, it won't be North Dakota State University. They're going to have to wait 2 years, okay, unless things change by the next show, and then I'll let you know. Stick around. Okay, Candy.
I think they're going to do well in Mountain West. I mean,
I think they are too. Yeah, they're
yeah, I think they'll do well there. Would they, even if they were to, relax that probationary period?
Yeah,
I don't know whether they do well in a playoff format, but look, I think they deserve to be in FBS, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. Candy, you want to take a guess at what Earl's saying?
I mean, I don't know a lot of them right now to really say. I can say that looking at some of these different schools, Oklahoma State went 0-18 in the Big 12 over the past 2 years. They have a new coach this year. You just never know. So that would be one that might surprise us, because considering they haven't won anything the last 2 years.
Okay. Mel, you want to take a crack at it?
I'm very interested to see what these Bruins are going to do this year. I can't say that they're going to do anything, but I'd like to see what they're going to do. I'm very anxious to see what they are going to do.
All right, that's fair.
I bet they do what they always do. How about that? We'll leave it like that.
All right, Marvin, take a real guess. After all, it's your man.
I bet we beat you.
That's the question there. So who's your guess?
What was the question, Scott? I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, your man Earl Kinsey, our man, friend of the show. I can't wait.
I'm sorry.
The college football team is going to surprise everyone this year.
No, I know.
You're already taking Mel apart.
Earl's one of my favorite cousins, man. I love Earl.
I love Earl.
But man, I'll tell you what, man, you got to go down to South Central. These Trojans, I'm telling y'all, the reports that I'm hearing out of spring, it's been we're talking about the next Indiana. So yeah, I too though want to see what Kyle Whittingham does in Michigan. I have nothing but respect for him. At USC, we played Utah year in, year out, and they were probably the most physical team we played every single year. Now he's going to Michigan with those caliber athletes. Man, that should be interesting. As a football fan, I'm very curious, but I am, for justified reasons, high on these Trojans as well.
Yeah, I want to see the Pro Trojans take on North Dakota State University. I'm not sure on that one. I just want to see it, Marvin. Seriously, really seriously. That was it, by the way. When I went to Dr. Corey's, I had it wrong. This was seriously, really seriously, and normally really seriously, really. Okay, anyways, that's my crazy hat plug for the night. Okay. Well, let's talk about Las Vegas, because now, guess what? The Super Bowl is returning there in 2029, people. Yes, that is Super Bowl LX11. I don't know anything about these Roman numerals, but the Super Bowl is going back to Las Vegas. All right, Steve, what do you think? Well, let's talk about fights. Now the Super Bowl goes back to 29.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas is a great place. I mean, I think it's going to be a very fun Super Bowl. I mean, why would you not want to go to Vegas Super Bowl week and take in all the events there and then watch the game? The only drawback to me, and I want to see the Super Bowl played outside. That's the only thing. But, in regards to the Super Bowl being in Vegas, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much to do there. And, they'll go all out for the Super Bowl.
Candy?
To Steve's point, ironically, if you were listening to Three Chicks earlier, Chicks and Salsa, we were just talking about the Super Bowl and how we'd like to see it in an outdoor stadium and move it around more. Give some of these other cities, the biggest game. And I get it. There are some cities that it just wouldn't work at. They don't have the hotel space. They don't have, but to do it again in just 5 years, like you just played there, and it'll be within 5 years, there's so many other cities that you can move it to. I get Vegas has a lot of hotels, a lot of excitement. It's always on the move and stuff like that. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I get it, but I'd like to see it moved around a little bit more. But
the NFL's going to pick their regulars, and Vegas is in the rotation. Period. There's no hotel shortage. I get it. That's my opinion.
I mean, to me, Scott, I want to see them play outside in a cold weather venue.
Oh, me too. Come on, SB. You and I, listen. You and I are used to
that's football weather.
I agree.
Is football weather, and I know they want to have it in a warm place because the fans go there, and they don't want to be walking around outside in the cold. But I want to see the Super Bowl played in cold weather outside.
The Ice Bowl.
Where?
Like the Ice Bowl. Out in the cold, in the frozen.
Yeah, but they got no hotels in Green Bay. Really? Seriously, really? I live with one in Jacksonville. I know. And that'll segue after. Mel, what do you think? And then I'm going to Jacksonville because something came up on our wire today. So I'm going to get out there. Great stuff, Steve. In fact, if any cold weather city could handle it, it's unfortunately the stadium's not big enough to be Soldier Field. And Kansas City's certainly looking to get one as well. And yeah, I guess you can make a case for Pittsburgh as well, Earl. But go ahead, Mel. What are your thoughts about going back to Vegas?
Not going to get one. Kansas City, after that cold game with Miami a few years ago, they're not getting one. They can forget that. They had a cold weather game. They had one in New York when the Giants and the Jets opened up their stadium. They had a cold weather game there. But, it's not just for the players, it's for the fans and, for the spectators. They want it to be comfortable for everybody. Now, I went to go see a Super Bowl in at Stanford, and it was cold. For me, coming from LA, it was cold. It was chilly. Now, it wasn't snowing or anything like that, but it might as well have been because it was cold. But, I mean, Vegas, Vegas is a great place to have events. That's what it's built for. They have plenty of places. They have plenty of hotels. It doesn't surprise me that they're having another one. Hasn't LA already had a couple since they opened up their stadium? I think that was probably a part of the deal when they moved the Raiders there. They said, "Hey, we'll get you a couple Super Bowls so you can stuff your coffers a little bit, to help you guys with the move, the relocation, all that kind of stuff." So it doesn't surprise me. But I mean, there's great places to have outdoor Super Bowls. I mean, you got Miami, it's not Joe Robbie Stadium, whatever they call it now. Hard Rock. I mean, you can have one in Tampa. You can have one in Jacksonville. There's a lot of places. You
can't have one in Jacksonville, at least not the way it used to be until they get hotels there.
Well, they're building a new stadium, so they're not building that new stadium and don't think they're going to get a Super Bowl. I mean, hotels are close enough.
That. They're not building them; they're renovating the one they got.
How far is Orlando from Jacksonville?
I would say an hour and a half to 2 hours.
I mean, when I went to the Super Bowl in Arizona, we stayed in Tucson, and that was like an hour and a half. I think it was like 90 miles, something like that. And we drove from Tucson to wherever the stadium was for the Super Bowl. So I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. And
but not in this case. Let me tell you.
We'll have a Super Bowl.
No way. Hold on. Now you got me going here. I went to Super Bowl 39 in Jacksonville. You know what I did? They had no hotel rooms. They were selling a thing on a cruise ship.
They had the cruise ships. They can get all the cruise ships.
They didn't have enough rooms.
They can get people in Orlando. It'll happen. The place where it won't be is Green Bay, Candy. They're not going to have one in Green Bay.
But no, you're right about that. But here's what happened to me. I'm driving a cheap Cherokee Laredo with a big back there, and I slept in the back is what I ended up doing. And you know how I ended up taking my showers in a rest area, and I was able to give the guy over at the thing here, if you give me the key to the rest area, I'll get you some memorabilia. I got the key 2 days in a row. I took a shower at least. I don't know if we're talking about showers there, but that was unbelievable how I managed. And then the last night I stayed over at the Jacksonville Convention Center and slept in a what do you call it, a reclining chair. That was pretty good. Boy, it was painful, but I was able to get cleaned up in the shower. And you know, Earl, I should get an RV. Guess what? I got a Honda Odyssey, and that's my condo on wheels. I actually did that last year.
Truck that Oldsmobile or Pontiac used to make that folded out into an RV. I forgot the name of that little vehicle that folded out to an RV. Aztec. You should have got you one of those Aztecs, those Pontiac Aztecs. It folds out to an RV. It's a car, and then it folds out to an RV.
Well, I'll just tell you, I ain't going back to Jacksonville, but I'll tell you. All right, Marvin, go ahead, because I'm going to talk about Jacksonville now that everybody's let the cat out of the bag on this one.
10 minute question again, Scott. I mean,
yeah, that's no problem.
We went off.
Yeah, I mean, the Super Bowl's going back to Vegas.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, guys, this comes down to one thing: money. They want to have it indoors so they can have a better TV product, more money from their sponsors, and then Vegas. Boom, money. The NFL is going to make so much money on this. It's going to be ridiculous. I mean, this is a genius move by Goodell, by the NFL. Again, their focus is not football. Their focus is on improving the value of their brand and making as much money as they can. That's what's number one to them. Football is this, the show that they put on and how they make the money. So, yeah, man, this makes perfect sense. I hear Steve, man. Listen, again, I'm all about 3 yards on a cloud of dust, but the truth is, I really enjoy going to games. But if it's a game I really want to see, I want to see it at home anyway, because I think the TV product is just that good. You get the expert analysis, you get the replay, you get all that stuff, man. So Vegas to me is a great move. I bet you it breaks all kind of records in regards to attendance. People who actually just come to the city. Vegas, which has been dying off as they build casinos all over the country.
Right.
They're going to get a huge injection of business. This is going to be buku business for Vegas and the NFL. This will be one of the biggest Super Bowls ever.
I agree. So now let's go ahead and segue over to Jacksonville, because now the Jacksonville Jaguars are actually relocating to Orlando for the 2027 season, as major renovations are taking place over at Everbank Stadium. And Camping World Stadium is obviously going to be their new home. And Shad Khan, the Jaguars owner, said the Jaguars couldn't ask for a better scenario than Orlando and Camping World Stadium as their temporary home, as obviously Everbank Stadium gets completed. So everybody was really headed in the right direction here about Jacksonville, but now obviously they're going to be going to Orlando. I think it's a great move for Jacksonville because they have an opportunity to stay in the state at a pretty good stadium. I've been to Camping World Stadium quite a few times for bowl games and all that. Couldn't ask for a better place, and they can build their fan base a little bit in Orlando. That's my opinion. Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, look, it's close enough where the fans in Jacksonville can go to the games. It's not that far. I mean, it's Orlando traffic is awful. I mean, at 4:00 in the morning on a Tuesday, traffic in Orlando is awful. But it's not that far away from Jacksonville, where the fans, will be precluded from staying away. So I think it's a good move for them. Their stadium does need to be redone, and Shad Khan's a smart dude. I mean, he made his fortune the right way by making smart decisions, and keeping the team in Jacksonville is a good move. I think I haven't been to that stadium in Orlando, but I've heard that it's a nice place to watch a football game from, and it's just for that one season. I think it's a good move for them.
Candy?
Yeah, I've been to both stadiums. Shad Khan, obviously, he's a smart man. He's got the Jaguars playing in London. He's got, his game over there. Now he's, temporarily moving him while he a $1.4 billion stadium of the future renovation. While they're paying for that and making such improvements to play over at Camping World, good move. Keep it in the state, not that far away. just smart on his part, because now he'll get more of the Orlando fan base too, possibly. So good move for him, considering there's 3 NFL teams in the state. There's Tampa, there's Miami, and then there's Jacksonville. So he's trying to get more of the middle of the state market.
Marvin?
Between all the games that he's already played in London and the move he's about to make now, I mean, this guy, nobody does more to push their team and market their team and find different ways to get their team out there. He'll definitely pick up some more casual fans in the Orlando area. He'll definitely get, people who come to Orlando, not just for Disney, but now they can see an NFL game, That's how people think, man, as a family. You know what I mean? You want bang for your buck. You want to go to Orlando and see Mickey and Trevor Lawrence, and you can do that, So I think it's genius. I think it's just a win-win scenario for Shad Khan, who's going to have a renovated, almost new stadium, and having an opportunity to really get into that, get a little market share here in the state of Florida with the casual fans. So, yeah, I think it's a good thing. I haven't been to the stadium in Orlando. I haven't even heard anybody comment on it, but Scott and Steve just make it seem like it's the place to be. So now I want to check it out. So but good move by Shad Khan.
Going to Earl Kids, the best stadium I've ever been to, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I have one word for you there, Earl. Cheers. That's a heck of a place. That really is. Okay, Mel, have you commented on this one?
Yes, sir.
Everybody accounted for on this topic? Just on making sure. Okay. All right, well, guess what? Since I got a USC guy on here, I am obligated to put this one on here as well. Okay. Buffalo Bills Senior Vice President of Design, Frank Crovoda, said the team is still undecided on whether O.J. Simpson will be included in the Wall of Fame at the new Highmark Stadium. Crovoda said the design team is preparing for both possibilities, including Simpson or leaving him out. Steve, what are your thoughts about the Juice not actually going over to right across the street, since we all know how iconic he is in Buffalo?
Yeah, I mean, look, you're putting him up there for what he did with the Bills, not for stuff that happened after the fact. Right. So he should be part of that. I mean, that's just my 2 cents. I know there'll be a lot of differing views on that, but OJ was such a big part of that Bills team in the early to mid 70s, where first guy with 2,000 yards and all that, and OJ and the Electric Company. I don't care for what he did after the fact, as we all know, but as a football player, he was a big part of that.
I couldn't agree more. OJ should go over to the new stadium. He is a part of the football history there. Leaving him out, I think, would be disrespectful to history in Buffalo. That's not my opinion. I agree with you, Steve. All right, Candy.
He played with the Bills from 69 to 77. If you look at, some of all the different accolades he has among his career, he rushed for 11,236 yards. His rushing average is 4.7. Now, what quarterback wouldn't want a running back that would give you 4.7 yards every single time you handed him the ball? And he has receiving yards of 2,142.
Right.
Like, that's just, crazy. Should he be in that stadium? He is definitely part of that history and belongs there. Like Steve said, I think 100% of us would say we don't agree with what he did after the fact, but he was part of the history of the Bills and part of bringing them back to relevance. And I think that they need to honor him for his accomplishments with the team when he was with the team.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little partial toward him in another way, because I had a personal experience with him down in Miami at the Orange Bowl. Howard Cosell, get this, as a young kid, like 19, 20 years old, turned me down. And again, I never liked Cosell anyways, but I certainly didn't like him more after that. who do you think bailed me out? O.J. Simpson. It was all said and done. I had a really good interview. I'm just a young pop, Marvin. Okay, for all you young people out there. O.J. said, "Man, you did a good job." I mean, I asked him the same different question even back then as a pop people at 20, 19, I don't know, it was young. Okay, and he answered it 4 or 5 different ways about running and passing attack. And then at the end of the interview, he complimented me, he shook my hand, gave me a hug. O.J., you gotta go to Highmark even if the people in Buffalo are high. Forget it. Put him in there. All right. That's my experience. Thanks, O.J. Rest in peace. And yes, I know you're not going to, it's mixed emotions, but not in my opinion. You ought to be in there. Okay, now.
Yeah, I mean, O.J. was convicted in the court of public opinion, but he wasn't convicted in the court of law.
Right.
And O.J., what O.J. did on the football field had nothing to do with, he's not an axe murderer. Well, let me take that back. Well, he wasn't convicted of being an axe murderer or whatever the case may have been. Like I said, he was convicted in the court of public opinion, but in the court of law, he was found not guilty. And what O.J. Simpson did, rushing for 2,003 yards in 14 games was unheard of. Some of the records that he had back then were unheard of. And, O.J. was the first, really the first NFL player. Well, Jim Brown was probably the first, I guess. And then O.J. followed in his steps. But, he made it real big in media, in movies, and all that. I mean, he was the guy that everybody wanted to be like. He was a young guy like myself. That's who I aspired to be like O.J. Simpson. He had the charisma. I mean, everybody loved O.J. It was, O.J. is a part of Buffalo Bill history, whether they like it or not. They cannot erase it. Erase the fact that he was a part of Buffalo Bill history. Without question, and he's a Hall of Famer. He's a college football Hall of Famer. He's a Heisman Trophy winner. So without question, he should be a part of Highmark Stadium. Shouldn't even be a doubt as to whether or not he should be a part of it. When you think of the Buffalo Bills, you think about O.J., you think about the Electric Company, you think about Jim Kelly, you think about Thurman Thomas, you think about Bruce Smith. I mean, there's certain people that you think about. O.J. Simpson is probably the first or second name that you think about in Buffalo Bill history.
Great points, Mel. And yes, for those kids you mentioned, Thurman Thomas should be up there too. So has everybody spoken on this?
No.
The SC guy has it.
Yeah, Scott. So I too, my wife and I ran into OJ twice at the same restaurant in Miami, and one of the times we had a conversation. He was super nice, super cool, super chill. It was all good. It was cool. So rest in peace, Juice, one of the greatest ever, second best running back to ever come out of USC, next to Marcus Allen. Now, it's sad. It is sad that they're thinking about not putting this man's jersey up or whatever it may be. He should be honored in Buffalo for his impact on that city, for his impact within our organization, his impact in the NFL. I mean, what are we talking about? As Mel said, what was he convicted about? Convicted of stealing his stuff back? That's what you mad about? Because everything else, listen, I trust the system, don't y'all? I trust the system. The jurors said not guilty. So that's it. I just go with what they say and it's all good. Put that man up there and give him his respect. One of the greatest to ever do it of all time, was the face of the league. So, yeah.
At the end of the day, the glove did not fit.
Not guilty. I trust the system. Let's go.
I mean, with all due respect, I think everybody believes it's unanimous on this group that he should be in the Wall of Fame over there. So, obviously, we'll stay on the USC team, shall we? Because returning for a 9th year, former USC and current Montana linebacker Solomon Tulia, whatever. Okay, Google it because I'm doing a lousy job pronouncing it. In 7 years at USC, he received 5 different medical red shirts, and he has a master's degree and a graduate certificate. So, Steve, 9 years over in college football. This guy looks like Welcome Back Cotter. He looks like a sweat hog to me, but he's 9 years. My goodness.
He collected Social Security there at college. So
yeah, no kidding. So, but what are your thoughts about this guy coming back for his 9th year, let alone being with Montana?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Kudos to him. All right, he's going to beat John Belushi for most years in college, right?
Right. That's funny.
But, hey, look, if that's what the guy wants and they'll let him come back, all the more power to him.
Candy?
Yeah, the former 2018 USC signee transferred to Montana in 2025 following a career marred by multiple foot and knee injuries. He will play his final season at age 26. He missed the 2018 to 2019 seasons with foot injuries, the 20 to 21, and the 23 with knee injuries. In his first season with Montana, he recorded 43 total tackles, 2 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. His 9th year is attributed to injuries and the COVID-19 pandemic and approved waivers. So, playing at age 26, I sometimes have hard times with that long. I understand he had injuries, but I also think that there are young guys that might want to be in there as well. So, but if they granted him eligibility, they granted him eligibility, and that's what we go with.
So number 9. Okay, this guy, of course, the only thing I associate number 9 with in Detroit is Gordie Howe. So for all you hockey people, you know who Gordie Howe is, Marvin?
So obviously, as a guy who watches ESPN, grew up watching ESPN, of course I know Gordie Howe.
Good. I'm glad. Okay, beautiful.
I'm not a hockey. Don't ask me.
But you became a hockey expert. No, you volunteered to come on Sports Rip on Thursday. Really, seriously, really? But I promise you, we won't talk about your
Gordie Howe hat trick is still the way to go.
All right, Marvin, he's on a roll tonight. The guy's going away from spring break, but he's on a roll tonight because he's getting bombarded with additional stuff he didn't prepare for. But at least he knows Gordie Howe. All right, Marvin, since he's a USC guy, well, former one anyways. Montana Grizzly, it's cold up there.
One of the toughest guys ever to play the sport, too.
Oh, yeah, Gordie Howe. See, that's me and I know about this stuff. We were brought in the Great White Cold. Marvin, I don't know. Where were you born, Marvin?
Los Angeles, Hollywood.
Beautiful. So he didn't know nothing about, I don't know if he knows anything about Marcel Dion and all those guys. He didn't follow hockey, but Gordie Howe is Gordie Howe. At least Marvin Paul scored some brownie points for knowing Gordie Howe. All right, now let's talk about this other guy, number 9, coming back for 9 years. Great segue, people. I love it when I'm this hyper. Everybody goes crazy. They all get into it. Let's go crazy, everybody. How much caffeine did this guy have again? Oh, all right, go ahead, Marvin.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I believe in second chances, and I want these kids to have an opportunity, to play college ball. But at some point in the process, I mean, what are we doing? Let's just make sure he's able to get his degree. And, but 9 years in college football, that's a bit much. I ain't gonna lie. That's a bit much. So,
you ain't gonna lie. I hope not. You're a commentator. You better not lie. I'm kidding with you, Marvin. Y'all love you, man. It's serious. 9 years is a lot. Isn't it, Marvin?
Yeah. It's a lot.
Great stuff. Okay, guy. All right, so I go around the horn because I had to start off with you because you're a USC guy. And I love him sporting that Tribune hat. He looks awfully good in that. What are your thoughts, Mel, about this guy coming back for his 9th year?
You're on mute.
I have to take lip reading for this guy. I can't hear you, Mel.
Mel, you're on mute.
Mel?
You're on mute or something. Your microphone is failing
Mel.
you. Everybody learn how to take lip reading because I certainly don't know a lick about it.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Now I can hear you.
You're on mute.
I really don't understand it. I don't know how this kid gets a 9th year and didn't have to go to court, didn't have to fight the NCAA or anything like that. And he gets a 9th year, no problem whatsoever. The NCAA granted him the waiver. And the kid at Ole Miss, I believe it is, the quarterback at Ole Miss,
Right.
He had to go to court to get an injunction to play, I think, for a 6th year. So I don't understand. And again, I've talked about it before. I mean, we were trying to get out of college as soon as possible. If we could have left in 3, we would have left in 3. These kids are staying 9. Now, granted, he has a master's. He's probably working on his doctoral right now. He's been in there long enough. You might as well come out of there with something. And, the first 4 years at SC, he didn't play at all. I mean, not one game. I mean, you used to get 5 years to compete for. You got 5 years to compete for. If something happened, you could possibly get you a medical red shirt year, and you might be able to get yourself an additional year. But that was it. that was it. I've never seen anything like this here before. I mean, he was at USC for 7 years. He was at USC for 7 years, and now the past 2 years he's been at Montana. So I mean, like Marvin said, I mean, what are we doing here? I mean, yeah, he's getting an education, but at some point in time, you're gonna have to go out there and get yourself a job. I mean, you're 26 years old. I mean, you just can't keep chasing this dream. You can't stay on college campuses. I mean, some of the things for you being on college campus is illegal. You can get yourself in trouble. You know, with gals on college campuses. So more power to them.
Yeah, we're all getting an education on this guy and all the other ones that go past 5 or 6. Candy.
No, I already talked about that one.
Oh, all right, so I got everybody.
Yep.
Steve, did I get you? Okay, good. All right, so let's talk about notable players making appearance in the 2027 Pro Football Hall of Fame ballot. Include Adrian Peterson, Gronk, Richard Sherman, Big Ben, Cam Newton, Andrew Whitworth, Antonio Brown. He's definitely not getting in. And Gerald McCoy. Let's start off with Steve. What are your thoughts about these guys and which one or two?
Yeah, that's a pretty. That's going to be a pretty crowded class. I mean, it's going to be a tough decision there. I mean, because I all the names you mentioned, with the exception of maybe Antonio Brown, all those guys are very, very worthy, and you could make arguments for each and every one of them. So you know, that's going to be interesting. It's going to be a great vote, and to see, you know, how the voting comes out with that. Somebody will be obviously making a case for each and every one of them, and as they should. I mean, these guys are all worthy.
Okay. Candy?
Yeah, that's going to be tough because they only allow so many in. So that's going to be really tough because that's a really good class with some really good players in it.
Okay. I mean, if I had to pick a favorite one or two, I would think Andrew Whitworth should be at the top of my list. I really do. I mean, he's an offensive lineman that does the dirty work. Antonio Brown won't see it for who knows how long. And we'll leave the rest up in the air. Big Ben, I don't think gets in on his first call, but he could get in 2 or 3, some reason or another. I just feel that way. Okay, so who have I gone with? I've gone with Steve. Did I go with Candy? Right? Yep. Okay, yep. Mel, my memory's not working very good tonight. Sorry, people.
Yeah, I mean, Big Ben's getting in on the first time, and without question, Big Ben is probably going to get in there. Rob Gronkowski, Adrian Peterson should definitely get in there on his first go around. It's going to be tough. I mean, that's, you know, and it's supposed to be. I mean, it's not, you know, it's not supposed to be easy to get in. Some guys that should get in probably won't, because there's some guys from last year and 2 years ago that didn't get in. Eli Manning's still hanging out there, and we know he's going to get in because he has 2 Super Bowl rings, and whoever else didn't get in last year. So I mean, it's not supposed to be easy. You know, some classes, you know, there might be lighter classes coming up. I don't know. I doubt it. I mean, because every year, you know, there's Hall of Famers that are retiring, but you know, there's a lot of worthy guys on that list. Just because you don't make it in the first go around doesn't mean that you won't get in. But there's a lot of guys there that are definitely first ballot Hall of Famers, and will probably get in there.
Andy Fraser's right on target. I think there is a chance Adrian Peterson will get in because of his run-ins with the law. Believe it or not, that could be taken into consideration, whether you think it's fair or not. But that's a valid point. All right, Marvin, go ahead.
I think Peterson's definitely getting in. Ben's definitely getting in. And Gronk's definitely getting in. And I think, you know, Cam Newton should be considered. But those 3 that I said, absolutely. Eli, he'll get in just because he's a Manning and he has 2 world titles. He's an MVP. But yeah.
Yeah, I like what Eddie Prather said. Jim Plunkett has 2 Super Bowl rings and isn't in. Yeah, that to me is a mystery. I don't get that one because he resurrected his career out in with the Raiders for sure. Great point, Eddie Prather.
It was a different game back then. They ran the football a lot more, although Jim Plunkett was a big part of it. I mean, I believe he should probably be in it, but I haven't really looked at all his numbers or anything like that. But they can't be worse than what's his name, Joe Namath's. I don't think.
That's true. Great point. Okay, let's talk about something that Marvin ought to be too familiar with. I know he's waiting for this topic when he probably saw it. But get this, people. Mike Ditka, iconic, people. 1985 Chicago Bears vest went to the auction, and it was a double XL. That fits me as long as it's 50-50, polyester 50 and cotton. If it's all cotton, forget it. I wouldn't buy it. But anyways, he wore it for the Bears for the first championship since 1963. The current top bid is 82 grand. 22% buyer's premium is $100,000 and climbing. And the bidding ended February 7th. Candy's going to be last on this one. Give us an update. But Marvin, what do you think about your coach having a vest worth that kind of money for the Super Bowl?
Hey man, iconic coach. Made a major part of the NFL, facing the NFL in many ways when he was a coach of the Bears. Great in the commercials. I mean, he was, all kind of corporations came after him. There was Mike Ditka, everything from cigars to underwear. They was selling everything, putting his name on it. We're talking about one of the greatest tight ends to ever play, one of the greatest rookie tight end seasons ever. I had nothing but love for Coach Ditka. He was my coach my rookie year. He's exactly what you see on TV. I really think about some of our conversations we had. I appreciate them. And it doesn't shock me that his memorabilia, his clothing, anything associated with a champion like he is going for that high. Sports in America is like religion, y'all. People spend time, people spend money. So, yeah, not shocking at all for an iconic coach.
And I'm telling you, you say you played for him. This topic had your name written over it, Paul the Third. I'm telling you, when I saw it, I said, well, I don't know when you're coming back 1, 2, 3 weeks. Well, you think it tonight. Like I said, enjoy your trip for spring training, but you were getting addicted tonight no matter where you're going next week. Okay, you said that's in Florida, right? Just I enjoy the white sand and all the people there. Actually, the Panhandle and their beaches are beautiful. They really are. Okay, so go ahead, Mel. What do you think about Ditka in that vest?
I guess somebody's going to get a great piece of history. I mean, I've always liked Mike Ditka as a coach. Don't necessarily agree with everything that he says, but I've always had respect for him as a coach. Played against him when he was coaching at the Bears. I mean, when he was coaching rather at the Bears, and have a lot of respect for what he did to that program. I mean, because Chicago Bears were a pretty bad program before he got there, and he was able to get Walter Payton a Super Bowl ring, and I think I'll be forever grateful for that. Just for the Sweetness got an opportunity to get a Super Bowl ring, and what he was able to do for that city. William the Refrigerator Perry, the 46 defense, Buddy Ryan, had a lot of characters over there. Jim McMahon, a lot of tough football players over there. When you played Chicago, you knew you were going to be in a fist fight. So I'm sure that somebody will get a great piece of history and has something that they'll be able to talk about and brag about that they got Mike Ditka's vest.
Steve.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Look, Ditka made those vests. He made those things work. I mean, the normal guy wears a vest and you kind of cringe when you look at it, but Ditka pulled it off, right? That was like his signature look. And that Bears team, they were like an absolute juggernaut. And, he was a larger than life figure. I mean, look, he spawned all those Miller Lite commercials, then the Saturday Night Live guys who, talking about the Bears, right? So everyone dressing like Ditka. I mean, that's a piece of history, and I think it's awesome. I'm surprised that it's not more than it already is.
I don't know. Candy's going to tell you if it is or not.
I'm trying to find out. We're still researching.
Well, the bottom line, 82 grand is fetching some money there. Is not bad for a vest. So I'll give her another minute to figure it out, and if she doesn't, we'll just come back to her. But in fact, we'll come back to her in a moment. But our featured topic of the night is, will John Harbaugh have a great tenure with the Giants like Andy Reid did with the Chiefs? Keep in mind, Reid's record was 130, 93, and 1. Harbaugh with the Ravens was 180 and 113. Second chance could lead to some good stuff. Steve, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that was a really smart hire by the Giants, because the one thing that he's going to build there and is the culture. The Giants' culture was always like up there, and it's really fallen on hard times there. He's going to restore excuse me, he's going to restore discipline with the Giants, and I think he's going to restore that physicality that you always considered those great Giants teams, right? They were always very physical. Excuse me. And I think he's going to bring all of that to them. He's built a winning program. And, he wasn't a play caller, right? He was a special teams coach. But he hired, as Mel said earlier in the show, he was a really good leader, and he hired smart people to be his coordinators. And I think he's going to do the same thing again. Excuse me. I think, once again, it's really good.
Okay, you're good. I'm doing the same thing. Don't feel too bad. There you go. Yeah, I got to make sure I drink my Kool-Aid, the blue Kool-Aid, the Powerade. You all set, Steve? Is there anything else you want to add? You good? Okay. All right. Mel, what are your thoughts about John Harbaugh?
Yeah, I mean, I love the Harbaughs. I mean, I think they're good people. Obviously, he's a great coach. He's won the Super Bowl there. Anytime the Giants have had a grown up, I mean, it's been a difficult. The Giants have had a difficult stretch here for a while. But anytime they've had a grown up in that position, they've been able to do well. Somebody that's been respected by the front office and ownership as well. With Bill Parcells was there. He did very well. Tom Coughlin was there. He was able to win the Super Bowl. And I think Jim Harbaugh is going to bring that same type of culture to the New York Giants that's been missing for a long period of time. When you go out there and you try to hire the hottest offensive coordinator, the hot shot offensive coordinator, but the hot shot offensive coordinator doesn't know how to lead men. This is somebody that was a special teams coach, but he was able to connect with the players, and he was a great leader of men. And so they're trying something different here, and I think this is going to pay huge dividends for him. Somebody who's just going to be a CEO. He's not great on one side of the football or the other. We know that his MO is that they're going to play great defense. So they're going to have they're going to play hard-nosed defense. He likes to run the football, but as a CEO, he's going to oversee everything. He's going to get the right people. He's going to have them in the right position. Right. He's going to get the type of players that are going to buy into his system, and then what we'll see on Sunday is the finished product.
Marvin?
Yeah, John Harbaugh. He brings instant credibility. He brings stability. As Steve said, culture heavy. And, I think this was a great hire. They needed leadership. They did. They needed direction, vision. They needed someone who the players could look at and respect, on day one. So this is a great hire. In regards to him versus Andy Reid, no, Andy Reid has Pat Mahomes. Andy Reid has a dude they call the baby goat. They got Jackson Dart, who's not a bad player at all. He was good at USC, good at Ole Miss, played okay as a rookie. But I mean, he's still going through the quarterback blues. He ain't arrived yet. So until they get the quarterback right, we can't talk about a comparison or anything like that. And that's John Harbaugh's number one thing right now is what the heck is he going to do with Jackson Dart, and is he the guy?
Great point, Marvin, all the way around. That was good. Anybody else want to add to it before I go back to Candy? All right, Candy, you got two topics to comment on. Any updates on the Ditka jersey?
It's sold for $183,000. It also included a signed letter of authenticity from Ditka himself.
$180,000 for a vest. Wow.
Well, he wore it during his Super Bowl victory, back in '86. So, yep.
Good work, Candy.
Of course. And as far as Harbaugh, he brings stability, character, culture, ton of football knowledge, credibility to anybody in that organization. So because he's had such longevity, had such a career, you have to respect him going in. I don't care who you are on that team, you have to respect him. So hopefully he has success there as well.
Okay, let's talk about the New York Jets. And at the end of the show, we're going to put a clip up of Diego Pavia, who talked about Johnny Manziel. We'll get to the Jet stuff real quick. Jets fired 7 coaches this offseason, as well as other assistants. The coaching casualties actually were Tanner Eggstrand, Steve Wilkes, Dre Bly, Charles London, Eric Washington, Scott Turner, Aaron Curry, and of course, I had an opportunity to take a picture with Frank Reich. Candy, you have that at all up there?
Oh no, give me a minute. I
That's
will.
okay. But meanwhile, let's go around the horn here. What are your thoughts about the dismissal, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, the Jets, they just hired a new staff last year, and then they replaced 12 of the 22 initial coaches. And with, it's like they keep Aaron Glenn, but they've replaced almost everybody else. And I do think Frank Reich will be an intriguing offensive coordinator. I'm not sure if he's the right guy, but we'll see. I mean, obviously, they could go nowhere but up. The defensive coordinator, I thought, was another interesting hire. Brian Duker, former Dolphins passing game coordinator, right? Now, they said Glenn is still going to call the plays. So we'll see what happens. But, the Jets have been such a dumpster fire for so long. It's like I don't know what to make of this. I mean, they have a bunch of draft picks. They have a ton of money. But, it's just another wholesale change in New York. This team is always, it seems like, on the brink of collapse. So we'll see what happens. But I'm not holding my breath for the Jets to make great strides this year.
Especially and get rid of all those coaches. Hey, I love Frank Reich. And by the way, I like him so much that at Pro Day, him and I caught up with each other. I had a chance to talk to Frank when the Miami Hurricanes defeated the Stanford Cardinal, and Frank was really good. I go back to my time with the Lions when he was the backup quarterback there. So Frank and I were at the Miami Pro Day over at the indoor facility. Miami Hurricanes are doing a good job at that indoor facility because they're expanding it a little bit more. Just want to get that photo up there for everybody to see it. Now, some thoughts about the wholesale changes with the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, you can see he's kind of reaching the straws here. I'm hoping for the best for Aaron Glenn. I was never really impressed with him as a defensive coordinator with the Lions. I think he got lucky a lot, and they had a strong offense that put up a lot of numbers. So that made it easier to kind of overlook some of the mistakes that the defense was making. Particularly in his first year, I wasn't very impressed with him. I think he got better the second year. Then they started, his name started being thrown around for a head coaching job. And I'm like, oh, really? Wow. Okay. That's interesting. I'm hoping for the best for the guy. I really am. And, I think they just, they're going all in with Geno. They traded a late round draft pick and brought Geno over there. They bring Frank Reich in. I think, where was he at last year? Coaching at Stanford or something like that. They got rid of a bunch of coaches. I guess it was all the coaches' problems. The players didn't perform the way they were supposed to perform. Usually when a new coach comes in, a new regime comes in, they get rid of all the players, and they get players in there that are going to buy into their system, or they get players that they want, that's going to fit their system, because you're not going to lose with the same guys that got the other guy fired. And I don't think they got rid of enough of those people. They got rid of some good players. They got rid of some players, some building blocks, but you need to have those role players. And I don't know where Anzalone went. Where did Anzalone end up going? I know he left.
Alex Anzalone actually went to Tampa Bay Bucks.
Yeah, he'd have been a great guy to go over there for him and help build that culture that they were able to build up there in Detroit. That's a guy that they should have targeted, knowing that he was unhappy and knowing that he was going to leave. That's somebody that they should have targeted. So we'll see. The Jets are, they've been a dumpster fire for the last number of years, and we're see. It's a tough job. It's a tough gig, but it's the gig that he wanted. He's got it, and he's got to make the best of it.
Marvin's got that smile on him at the Coliseum, like he's ready to attack. All right, Marvin, I've seen you enough on these shows. When are you going to attack your cross-city rival on this time?
No, I mean, listen, in regards to the coaching changes, first of all, they need to fire whoever decided to bring in Geno Smith. What is it about his play last year that inspired you to think that he should come to the Big Apple and lead our organization after this failed disaster we have called Justin Fields? I mean, what are we doing? Again, this is just what bad organizations do. they make bad decisions, and then they make even worse decisions. Okay. Aaron Glenn, I know Steven said Aaron Glenn's going to keep calling the plays. He actually wasn't calling the plays last year. He took over at the end, and now he wants to keep keep doing it from that standpoint.
That's a
I
mistake.
don't know. I don't know if he should do that. I think last
That's a
year I had
mistake.
moments where I feel like the job was too big for him.
Right.
And I give coaches pass his first year, anything, first time riding the bike, I get it. There's a difference between being in the passenger seat and being in the driver's seat. I don't care how many times you've been in that passenger seat. It's not the same as the driver's seat. And you don't really appreciate that till you get into the driver's seat. And we went through a lot of that last year with our head coach. All right. So he wanted Gino. He signed off on this. Listen, if Gino don't play good next year, the next dude on the list that should be taken off, cross off the list, Scott, is Aaron Glenn. So, and I was a big fan of him coming in. Huge fan. Okay. But he ain't it. And the coaches he fired, I don't think that's enough.
No, actually, Marvin, I'll even take your point further. He used all those coaches he fired as a scapegoat is what he did to cover it, what. And Earl, just to give you some information, Mike Tomlin, there's no way he's going to the Jets. He's going to TV, and that's it. That's final. All right. So with that said,
Well, Mike Tomlin doesn't. He doesn't want to work for that owner.
he wouldn't. I agree, Steve. Oh yeah, no, there's no way he worked for Woody Johnson.
No, there's no way Mike Tomlin works for him.
Woody Johnson's one of the worst owners in pro football. All right. Well, you know what, Tanner Engstrand didn't last unemployment because he's with the Atlanta Falcons as a passing coordinator. That's an FYI that doesn't require any comments. I just want to make sure we got that out there. He wasn't unemployed long. He's going to be, as Earl would say, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. But that said, Katie, why don't you run that clip on, excuse me, Pavia, who's obviously has Johnny Manziel as his mentor. Gosh, you got to listen to this. And everybody can comment as we get ready to wrap this show up.
Diego, I have a question about Johnny Manziel. I know you had a little bit of an interaction with him. What was that experience like with you to try to deal with him, knowing that he's been through the rigors before? And obviously, was there any knowledge that he could pass on to you that would help you as you transition to your NFL career?
Yeah, he gave me like the do's and the don'ts. And he gave me some advice that would stick with me for the rest of my life. He was just like, hey, if you really want this, and so that's some of the advice that he gave me is just like, I wouldn't say he didn't say like, don't be like him, but like, just do as he says, not as he did. And he knows my goal. He's a close friend of mine. He's always here to give me advice. So I'm super thankful for him, like just going out of his way, checking up on me, making sure I'm doing good. He's just someone who, I looked up to since a little kid, and now he's like one of my homies, so that's cool.
Diego, before you got to.
All right, there you go, Steve. Some thoughts of what Diego Pavia had to say about Johnny Manziel. Yeah, I had to end this show on that topic. So,
well, look, I'll take it at face value, right? And if he was telling him, "Don't do all the things that I did," then that's great advice, because he was a guy that didn't study the playbook.
Right.
He didn't prepare, he did just about everything that you could do wrong. He did. Right. So if he's telling this guy, and the guy obviously is very close to him, don't do all the things that I did, then that's great advice. I'll leave it at that.
Candy, you were there when I had and spoke to him. What's your takeaway on this after a little time?
I thought it was a really interesting question, and I thought his response was really good. I mean, he talked about how Johnny and him are good friends, and how obviously Johnny didn't do everything right. And Johnny explained that to him and, said, sometimes you make mistakes. And so just don't make the same ones that I made. And I think we all learn a lot more from our mistakes as well. So kudos to him.
Yeah, I decided to ask that question. Here's the reason why I thought about it. Anytime I get a question that I hear, regardless of what social media platform it is, and I have an opportunity to confront the source with it, and Marvin, as you continue to learn in this business, you'll understand what I'm talking about. I know you're relatively new, and I'm trying to show you, Mel, and Steve already knows because we've been through it 9 million times. But anytime you get a question or something, Marvin, that you see, then you go ahead and confront the source with it. That way, you're able to have a legitimate answer, just so you know. So, with that said, Marvin, what were your takeaways from that particular interview with myself and Pavia?
Yeah, so I'm all for the alpha male athlete, and I'm all for. I understand, confidence talk and all that. I get all that, but he's had a few mishaps in front of the microphone, if you ask me. And I was happy to see him show some gratitude, and just take a step back and just give a different side of who he might be. That was refreshing to me, to be honest with you, because again, it's okay to have healthy ego. It's okay to have healthy pride, but I felt like on too many occasions he was just messing up at the microphone. So that was a good take. I thought it was a good question on your part, Scott. And I was happy to see the young man show some humility. For a guy like me, that goes a long way. So,
and I wouldn't have any idea where I think he's going in the draft. If I were a betting man, I say he goes in day 2. He's not a first round pick, and he can even slide to probably day 3. Before I bring in Mel, Steve, what are your thoughts about this guy? Do you think he's a day 2 or day 3 pick? Steve? I don't know if he's picking.
I'm sorry, I got lost my feed there. I couldn't hear anything anyone was saying.
No big deal. So, Steve, I'm going to ask you this. Do you think Diego Pavia is a second or third day pick?
I think he's day 3.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, and that's what I kind of think too. Anytime you have a guy like him who's a day 3 pick, you could be in the 4th or 5th round, and we've seen how some of these guys have developed with less money, less financial risk. All right, Mel, you can close out the topic, and then we're going to go to final our exits. Go ahead, Mel.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like Marvin. I didn't, I don't know how the rest of that interview went, but it was nice to see him to be contrite. Every other time that I've seen him, he's been very brash, he's been very bold, he's been very arrogant. And you cross teams off your list immediately. I mean, teams cross you off their list immediately. I mean, we don't want to deal with that. And then you hear that Johnny Manziel, one of your friends, there's go some more teams. Now you've really narrowed down that list. Johnny's giving them some good advice, but Johnny was a master of deception. A lot of people fell for his garbage. I could see through him. I could see that he was full of BS. I could see he was phony. I could see it just by the way he carried himself. That through his conversation, you had to listen to exactly what he was saying and how he was saying it. I knew he was full of it. I didn't believe a word that he said. I haven't watched Diego enough, but I don't know. We'll have to see. He's not the type of prospect that Johnny Manziel was. He's not being thought of as being a first-round draft pick, even though he was at the Heisman Trophy ceremony and stuff like that. I think he finished second on the Heisman Trophy, but he's not the same. When I say the same type of prospect, Marvin, I'm saying, the hype around him being a first-round draft pick is not the same like the hype was around Johnny Manziel. Now, I mean, they may be the comparable as far as players is concerned, but I'm just saying the hype surrounding him was not the same. Without question. I mean, if Shedeur Sanders went day 3, there's no question that this guy's a day 3. He's not better than Shedeur. He's not a better prospect than Shedeur Sanders. So there's no question to me that he's a day 3 prospect. But like Marvin alluded to, he's had some missteps at the mic. He's had a few missteps there. And these GMs, they have long memories. And some people he's already off their board, I'm sure. Some people have already taken him off their board. They won't draft him. So there's a limited number of opportunities for him out there. Again, I hope he gets an opportunity. I think he'd be great in the UFL. I think there'd be great excitement for the UFL, and I think that's probably where he'll end up being. And he'll go over there for a couple years and run around like crazy, and maybe he'll get a shot in the NFL. But ultimately, I think that his career is probably going to be in the UFL.
Yeah, I wanted to make one comment about that interview too. The young lady in the dark hair in the background, her name is Molly Middleton. I'll tell you, one of the classiest PR people, and she made sure, like Candy will tell you, that when I got involved, she made sure I got every question I did, Molly Middleton, and she made sure a lot of the athletes cooperated all the way to the final tee. So Molly Middleton, who's in charge of PR for the Senior Bowl, kudos to her. She's one of the classiest PR people I've ever worked with for sure. And, I'm pulling for DI. I go only because I had a chance to finally talk to the guy firsthand. And anytime you can ask a question that's in social media and then you bring it from social media into the guy's face and he's responding to it that way, then at that point you change your attitude based on where you heard it from an outside source. And that's why I brought it in. So I just want to make sure everybody had an opportunity to judge this kid on a very fair basis, and hopefully that maybe raised a few eyebrows. With that said, that does conclude this edition of Inside the Picture. But we're not done yet, Mr. Powell, because you're going to let everybody know how they get a hold of you. And you'll be out next week, but it'll be back in about 2 weeks, right, Marvin? So let them know how they can reach you, Marvin.
Yeah, people, you can catch me on social media, Marvin Powell III, Marvin on the mic.
Great stuff, Marvin. Keep up the good work on Inside the Pigskin, my brother. Okay, Steve Ballesteri will be joining me tomorrow on the Motor City Mad Mouth Show. And Steve, what do you like about being on the Motor City Mad Mouth Show when we do our thing on Wednesday?
Well, the shows are all unscripted, and I'm not aware of any of the topics until you break them to me on the air. So it makes the show flow really well.
Yeah, Marvin Powell III did on a few of them, haven't you, Marvin?
Steve, were you a Green Beret?
Yes, sir.
Man, thank you for your service. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So, all right.
Yeah.
Hey, we're looking forward to that SBC Motor Mouth Show tomorrow. All right, Mel, let them know how they can reach you. Put it all out there, brother.
Catch me in all the social media at Mel Farr Jr. Find out what we have going in here for the youth when we start that back up again at melfarsuperstarfoundation.org.
All right. Well, last but not least, the Candy Woman. Talk about the brand. What are we doing? I don't know.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how it has evolved. Old school media versus new school media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. It also is available in audiobook, so if you're an audiobook listener, you can catch it there as well. Our website has a plethora of great content, so go check it out. Scott writes for it, so definitely go check out some of his articles. He's put something up lately about some of the spring training that we've been covering. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, or if you want to be on a show, email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Last but not least, if you see that red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, click it, like us, share us with all your friends and family. Turn on your notifications so you're notified every time we go live. If you go to our YouTube channel, you'll see the rest of that interview. You'll see other interviews from the Senior Bowl. You'll see other interviews from spring training that Scott has done, as well as all of our shows. Monday nights is baseball night. Tuesday night is football. Wednesday night, anything goes pretty much. Depending on how many shows, we do 2 to 3 shows on Wednesday night. Scott does his Motor City Mad Mouth show with Mr. Steve Ballesteri. And literally, when Steve says he doesn't get any of the topics, he knows nothing, that is the truth. And sometimes Scott pops me in for one or so, and he doesn't tell me what the topic is either. So it's all off the cuff. And then Sports Exchange, you never know what we're going to be talking about. Thursday nights on Sports Wrap, it's either hockey or soccer, so it's grass or ice. It just depends on who we've got that night. And then on Fire Up, you can come on over to what Scott affectionately called My Country Club, because it's not as rigid as his shows are. It's more free-flowing. So please stop and view any or all of our shows, any of the interviews. Again, turn on that notification so you're notified every time we go live. Back to you, Scott.
I'll say one thing as we close out the show tonight. This group was so concise, but yet they made sure their points were so well taken. They were awesome, and that enabled me to put in more immediate topics to get in. When you have a group that's as good as I have tonight, and don't get me wrong, a lot of my groups are, they ended up getting hit with 5 or 6 subjects that they didn't expect, but because they're all professionals, that made my job as a host and moderator 100 times easier. I want Marvin, Candy, Steve, and Mel to pat themselves on the back because you guys did a heck of a job tonight and allowed me to cover more ground. Hey, listen, I don't give any time limit on topics. I just don't do it. Okay, I just don't. So this group was, as in the eyes of Jimmy Walker, dynamite, but I'm not going through that because I don't have much of a voice left to even try it anyway. But I was able to cover more ground because this group made my job 100 times easier tonight. So I applaud Marvin, Candy, Steve, and Mel for allowing me to get to some extra things that we were able to get to ahead of time. So God bless everybody out there in the chat room, Earl, everybody that joined us. God bless this crew for making my job easier, and I'm proud of what I have. We look forward to next Tuesday's edition of Inside the Picks. And what we're going to do is will be part 2 of the North Dakota State Ascension to FBS, and I'll have other things I want to bring up as well. So we covered a lot of ground. Next week we'll do more. Marvin, the only thing you have to do is have a good time with your family on spring break, and then all you have to do is give us stories about what you did when you come back 2 weeks from now. I'm sure you can handle that, right, man? Well, right? Really tough. In fact, I'm going to grill you on Destin. So you're going to make sure you give me some good stories about Destin. Because it's awesome, baby. All right, well, with that said, that does it for us tonight. Marvin, Candy, Steve, who I get to see tomorrow. Great stuff. And Mel. So thank you very much for joining us on this edition of Inside the Pigskin. Great show, great cooperation, great camaraderie, and a lot more than you bargained for. Good night, everybody. God bless, and we'll see you tomorrow. We have a triple header tomorrow. So I hope you can join us on the network. Good night, everybody.